Hi guys, welcome back to my show, and I want to thank you for joining me. Um, Today we're going to continue with our opening preparation, and this show, if you don't know, oh hi, my wife is in the chat. Hello. Yeah, this show is this is my training, and I just want to share it to other people, and hopefully you would learn from my training, and if you have something to add, I can learn from you too. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss, because last Wednesday we discussed the opening for white, Sicilian bishop b5 against Sicilian. Then last Friday we discussed the e4 e5 as black against the Italians. Instead of playing d3, white played d4. So it's like Scotch against what are supposed to do against Scotch gambit. Now today we're going to discuss an opening repertoire against Queen's Pawn opening, and I chose Gruenfeld from the book that I read, London Lista. It's a chronicle by former chess world champion Vladimir Kramnik, and he wrote it down there when Kramnik was able to beat Garry Kasparov in one of his World Chess Championship game. Garry Kasparov stopped playing Gruenfeld against him because the opening was too complicated, or it's just a lot of work to be able to gain some confidence against Kramnik. And Kramnik is the one who was able to dethrone Garry Kasparov. So we're gonna look at this Gruenfeld variation, starting with here. Okay. Okay, so Larry Kaufman is the author of this book. Knight c6. This line is also recommended by Delchev, and Agres is my first choice. There's not much you need to learn here, and the line seems to be sound. d5. Okay, so one of white's alternative is to play bishop to e3. And it's dubious. Bishop g4, sacrificing pawn, takes b7, takes, oops, takes. Okay, bishop takes pawn, knight takes d4, castle, e5. And black is better. Why? Because black has this nicely outpost of knight, nicely placed on d4, compared to white. I mean, white can have like a better piece if he can. White can improve its bishop if he can place it to d5. But right now, black is better. Quote, black is better. The outposted knight is clearly worth more than the slightly bad bishop. The symmetric pawn structure also favors knights over bishops. What the author is saying is, usually if you have one-sided pawns on the same side, for example here on the king side, knight is better in those kind of endgames. Okay. Let's go back. So instead of playing bishop b3, d5, knight e5, here, if bishop takes, accepting the pawn with bishop takes c3 after here. then takes. Now white has a centralized queen to a good endgame. So quote, good endgame for white, as was seen in Kasparov versus Nazis Malta Olympiad 1980. Okay. Maybe Kasparov here. Trying to find Gary Kasparov's game on Chessbase online database. Can't find it. Oh, Kasparov was white. There you go. Okay, so queen takes d4. So bishop takes c3 is a mistake. That's why we play knight e5. Knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. If knight d2, let's see, knight d2, f5, castle, fe4, knight e4, bishop f5, and it's pinning the knight, and after b6. Okay, just defending this pawn, c5, and it's equal. And according to, okay, okay. Let's go back to our main line, which is knight takes e5. Let's make this as main line. Okay, bishop takes e5, queen d2, defending that pawn. Bishop d7. Oops, sorry. Instead of queen d2, white can also defend this pawn with rook b3. Queen c7, queen d2, bishop d7, and c4. Is it a novelty? No, it's not a novelty. c4, rook b4, c4. Okay, so instead of c4, white can also play f4. Let's go to f4 and bishop. So instead of after e4, black has a counterattack. c4, then rook b4. Oh, sacrificing a pawn. Okay, so is white's rook misplaced here in c4? What's going on? Maybe here, followed by bishop c5. Okay, queen a5 is equal. So what about c4? So b5 takes. Okay, now I have a pass pawn. Also trading and take that. Rook b4, c3, e6. Okay. Rook a, bishop takes e6. Rook a4. Rook a d8 equal. Okay, coat and black is a pawn down, but has a dangerous advanced pass pawn and much better coordinated and developed pieces, so he has full compensation. Okay, and I like black here with strong pass c3 pawn, White's rook on a4 seems misplaced, and white cannot castle without giving up a pawn on h2. So, okay. I was wondering if this has been played. Okay, no. This was not played. Yeah, so b5 is a novelty. Alright. I'm gonna promote b5. Then rook a b5 was played before. It's played between Ma and Van der Maiden, 1999. Okay, most likely I mispronounced their name. Alright. Okay, 12. Let's see. So I can play rook b3, queen d2. What about queen to c2? c2, e6, 4, bishop g7, e6, bishop takes e6, takes b7, queen a5, e5, rook here, takes, bishop d3, and there's a bishop e3. It's a novelty. Let's look at bishop e3, bishop f5, bishop b3. Okay, queen rook b2. So black is threatening to take the pawn on g2 and also take the pawn on e2. Okay. And it's equal. And I like the black here. But because black's pieces are active and white doesn't even have a check on d8, because queen is gonna get you. So the main text is bishop to d3. It's a mistake. Bishop takes a2, bishop b, castle, bishop b1, queen e2, queen takes c3, bishop c4, bishop f5, and black is just a pawn up. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to go with the main text. Our main move is queen to d2. Queen to d2. Then 6, 4. Bishop d. Okay. 4. So white has an alternative. Instead of f4, it's castle. Takes d5, it takes d6. b6. Rook e8 is also satisfactory. Okay, I'm just gonna put an interesting move there. Okay, b6, c4, queen d6, h3, e8. Bishop b2, bishop takes b2. Okay. Bishop d7, rook a1, bishop a4. So bishop a4 is a novelty. Because White's last move after rook a1, threatening to play a4 followed by a5, because White's pawn is isolated on a, so he plans to play a4 and a5 and try to exchange his pawn for against Black's b pawn, giving Black an isolated pawn here, hopefully. But Black knew it. He knows what White is trying to do. So, bam, prophylaxis move, prophylaxis or prophylactic move. Black prevents a2 to a5, leaving White with little to do. Black's better bishop compensates for White's blockaded pass pawn because White has this nice pass pawn. Okay, so equal. Okay, so let's go to White's main line, which is 13 f4. Then bishop c7. All right. So after bishop c7 coat, this is very natural, retreating to very natural, because usually you retreat the bishop here, but instead bishop went to c7. However, I don't believe that bishop g7 equalizes, because White can play c3 to c4 and e4 to e5, blocking Black's bishop on g7. Bishop c7 serves to prevent c3 to c4. Oh, because of that. That's a pin. Nice. So White can't build a big center. It's true that Black's king is a bit weakened, but White's pieces are not well placed to exploit this weakness. Okay. So f4, 14, bishop c7, castle. Okay. So White has other moves. Instead of castling, he has bishop c4. Okay, let's go to bishop c4 first. e6, a4. e6, a4, b5, takes, bishop takes b5, takes d5, here, d6, here, inviting White to take here, so the bishop on d5 would hang. Queen c2 takes. Cannot take here because the pawn is pinned. So boom, boom. c4 and d4, check, equal. Oops. Okay. So instead of bishop to c4, d takes e6 is another alternative for White. Takes d2, takes here, f takes e6, if bishop takes e6, rook b7, bishop e6, King f2. Rook f8. So rook f8 is a novelty. Bishop a2 was played before. Rook f8. Bishop b5. Rook e to d8. Bishop e3 c4. The idea is after, if white takes here, takes there, then this pawn hangs. f5 may favor slightly white, unquote. So black is better to take the pawn with f takes c6. Cancel e6. Rook b 17. Rook b to d1. So bishop c4 was played before, but rook b to d1 looks like a novelty. Okay. G7, bishop c4, rook b8, e5, b5, bishop e2, here, here, here. Rook f7, g3, a6. What if here? Maybe just go here, x-raying the bishop and the pawn on a2. Because white just played here, g3, then a6. Okay, it's equal. All right. Now let's go to the main text, which white castled. Instead of playing d takes c6. Takes d5, takes here, bishop a5. Pressuring this on c3, d6. White has other alternatives. Rook b5 and rook e8. According to Komodo, this is 0. The Komodo chess engine. 0.000.0. Okay, I'm wondering if people played no, so okay, this is novelty. Rook e8 was a novelty. What about 16, g4? Okay, g4, rook e8. Wow. f5, queen d6. Also, Komodo thinks position is completely equal, which I think it means it's complicated. Usually that's what I think. Computer says fully equal. I mean, black has a lot of possibilities. Maybe attack this d5 pawn. How? Black also has this idea. Play bishop c7 to form a battery along this diagonal. Yeah, this is complicated position. I don't think it's fully equal, it's just complicated. 16. Rook b3. Rook e8. Complicated. Boom. What about bishop a3? Okay, so bishop a3 was played before. So b6, bishop b4. Wow, that's interesting. Bishop to b4. Wow. So if black takes, then his bishop is trapped. Which, what happened? Let's see. So, Boris Avrukh played this in 1996. 2290. Okay, I'll put Boris Avrukh's game. Played bishop takes b4. Instead of c takes b4, played bishop takes b4. Grandmaster Boris Avrukh from Israel. And is the famous author of the Grandmaster Repertoire with d4. Okay. f5. Okay. Okay. Bishop takes rook takes f5. No. It's interesting. Okay, rook takes b7. Queen d6. Bishop c4. F b8. Rook b3. Black has another move. Instead rook b3. Rook takes here. Main line. Takes here. Queen g5. Bishop takes c3. So this is a game between Dubuisset B against Mackenzie Molnar in Reykjavik, Iceland, 2014. Okay, takes f5, bishop d4, check, king, rook f2. Wow. Okay. Dubuisset played Grandmaster Larry Kaufman or Encomodo chess engine recommended king h1. But in that game, Dubuisset versus Mackenzie Molnar, rook b3, c4, bishop c2, queen c5, queen d8 check, king here. So bishop h6, a bishop here. Takes, then queen f6. No, queen f6, king, then queen h4. So, boom, boom. It's gonna be. If I go here, still a draw. It's interesting. Okay, let's go back to. So Larry Kaufman suggested king h1. Rook b4, bishop d3, f6, g4, bishop e5, bishop c4, bishop d4. So white covered with bishop c4 because white's rook is attacking this queen. Then covered again, bishop d4, bishop d3, drawn by repetition. Okay. Alright. Okay. So let's go back to white's main move on what happened to our model game, which is 16. d6. Bishop b5 is not included, but d6 is. d6, bishop f5, rook b, bishop a3. 18 is okay. Bishop a3. What about bishop to b2? Alternative for white. Bishop f5. This improves Pelletier Caruana BL 2011. Rook here. Okay. So bishop f5, then rook b d1, Then b5. Oh, it was a novelty. It's not. It's not a novelty. b5 is equal. G4. So after g4, then b5. b5. Cool. 25. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. Cool. Oops. Bishop f3. Bishop f5. Or b5 a6. Takes here. Oh, sacrifice. Then white sacrifice its rook in exchange of what? That the black queen will be far away from the king side, so I can start like attacking on the king side. We'll see. Rook takes, queen takes. '17 is bishop f5. G4. Okay, I'm trying to figure out which is the novelty. Okay, Nolte versus Nguyen, where Nguyen played b6, but a6 is a novelty. Okay, boom, boom, here, then f5. Wow, I don't know. Still, I think it's complicated. The book says it's equal, but a lot of calculations you have to do a lot of calculations here. Maybe black needs to figure out how to how to defend. Now you're defending because white has this nasty threat, f6 followed by queen h6, threatening to checkmate the black king. So that's why Greenfield is maybe the sharpest opening against d4. King's Indian defense is very sharp too, but as you can see while we're looking at it, a lot of sacrifices and dynamic. Dynamic means a temporary advantage that's gonna be gone if you don't follow up. So this is after white took the bishop on a5 and g4, white has the attack, a temporary advantage, and when black has the static advantage or a permanent advantage because of material. Easy to say, you can just exchange pieces, exchange queens, then black wins on endgame, but it's hard to do it. So maybe if you're MVL, Maxim Vasilograd, one of my favorite player, he plays the Najdorf, Sicilian Najdorf as black, and the Gruenfeld defense as black too. So those are the two sharpest openings that you can have. So if you're not a good calculator, but or if you don't like open positions, this is not an opening for you. But if you want to play fighting chess, definitely Gruenfeld is one of the best opening that you can have. But it does require you to study a lot of games, and you have to be you have to work hard in your calculation and tactics if you like tactics. Okay. 17 rook b5. Okay. So this is another alternative for white. b6 bishop. No. Bishop to a3. Why? Maybe, it's weird. Because you're hitting a defended pawn on c5. It's like a computer move. Bishop a3. Trying to take this pawn because this pawn is pinned. I'm gonna take the rook. Got it. Oh wow. Then here. So that was white's idea. Bishop a7, rook b7, bishop e3, queen b8, bishop f3, rook b2, queen d4, rook e6, rook d1, rook b1. And the chess engine Komodo says this is plus 0.002. Very gets just enough counterplay to hold. Okay. It's almost equal, but it's complicated. Again, black has the material advantage, but you gotta figure out how to defend. That's why, don't forget, I have a training scheduled every Thursday, I think. That's for defense. You guys should see that, check that out. Yes, defense. I do defense on Thursday. Because when you have this kind of position, you're up in material. No, you're not really up in material, but because white has 2 pawns, D and C, and a bishop, a dark squared bishop against the rook. Okay, you still have to defend, and white's position looks nice. Oh, even he has this. Then takes, then it opens. I thought white can sacrifice the pawn, then bishop can go to h6, but it can't because rook is gonna get it. So anyway, it's still complicated. I think it's need a lot of calculation to analyze this. Okay, let's go to the main move, which is 17. Whoops. Bishop a3. Immediate bishop a3. Bishop f5, rook b5. Rook b5 is what happened in the model game, but what about rook b d1? Queen f6. Black also has an alternative. Rook c8, then g4, bishop d7, f5, queen f6, takes g6, queen takes g6. Code was Oshinina Sutovsky Batumi to 2018 when bishop f3. It's a novelty, I think. No, it's not a novelty. Okay. But bishop f3, queen g7, bishop b2. Oh, this looks scary, yeah. If white is able to push this pawn and black's bishop is misplaced, then black may be in big trouble, because that's going to be a beast, a light squared, a dark squared bishop beast. So what happened here? Rook c to e8, and according to Komodo, that's plus 0.20 Komodo chess engine. Plus 0.20, which means white has slight advantage. Okay. So what happened? 18 is okay. 18. Queen f6 instead of rook c8. Queen f6. Bishop takes c5, bishop takes c3. Okay, bishop d4 exchanges. Takes d4, rook takes d4, rook f8, h3. Bishop e6. Okay, so black is attacking that pawn, and a4. Also, he can move his rook to c2. Okay. Also, maybe he can get his king closer to white's d pawn. That's what I'm seeing. Also, we can black has a chance to create a pass b pawn. So a lot of options. The Komodo Chess Engine says it's 0.00. It's maybe it's equal, but it's not technical super equal. So, but black has some play. Okay. All right. So, let's go to the text, to the main move, which is rook b5. 18, rook b5. No, it's 18. It's bishop a3, bishop here, then rook b5. Then a6, maybe rook takes. Okay, rook takes c5, I thought. Then bishop b6. Okay, so white took the pawn, and okay, he's okay with his rook getting pinned. In exchange, he's gonna get the pair of bishops, and this bishop is valuable for black because it's the bishop supposed to take care of this weak squares. So white is okay with trading this bishop for this rook on c5. So instead of playing rook takes c5, rook b3 is also possible. Queen c8, rook e1. Bishop f3 was played before by a 2000 player, between 1800 player and 2000 player in an email. And black won in that position, but I'm interested in this one, rook e1, b5. Code black clearly has the initiative at no cost. White's queenside pieces are just targets. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the text, which is after a6, white took the pawn and told his opponent, okay, I'm fine with bishop b6. I don't mind. Then okay, black says, okay, I'll take your rook. Queen d7. Okay, blocking the isolated pawn, so cannot push further. Code, according to my scale, black is a pawn up, 1/4 pawn. White has some vague compensation in the weak dark squares around the black king and the advanced pass pawn, but white also has some weak pawns. Overall, the engines prefer black slightly, and I won't disagree. Okay, bishop b6 is dubious. Bishop e4, queen d4, rook b8, bishop d1, and rook e6. Novelty. This is the novelty. Bishop c6 was played in the main game, in the model game. Rook e6. So after bishop c6 is what happened to the model game. f5, gf5, here. Oh. d7. Okay. b5. Black played b5. We should have played after bishop a to king e5. After b5 is a mistake. dubious. King e5, c5, b6 gives black a better way to the better of a likely draw. Okay. So in the model game, black played b5, then maybe c5. Oh yeah, now this is a pain in the butt. That's two connected passmen. And b4, bishop d4 check. Do you have to take it? Yes, took, takes. Rook b4, king here, rook b6, bishop e4, king e1. Why should have played c6? King e1's dubious. c6, rook takes here, check. The idea is to go here, check first, gaining on tempo, king f2, c1, rook e6 check, king e4. Okay, check that annoying king. g6, h3. Oh, you want to draw? Then rook h7. It's a equal game. So maybe white can black can play there, bishop b7. But white is just going to check, keep on checking here. Okay. So in the main game between Gajowski, the model game Gajowski and Sutovsky, instead of playing c6, Sutovsky played king e1, rook a7, rook b4, use, bishop takes g2, rook c4, c6 here, and d4, c4, king d3, rook b4, here, bishop g2. Oh no, black was able to get mating threat. Yeah, okay, white resigned here. Wow, that's spectacular. Black was able to win the game from defending to attacking. Wow, okay. So Grandmaster Kaufman recommended 24 rook e6 novelty. Rook e6, bishop c7, queen c6, queen d2, rook d8, then bishop takes d8. That's weird, because here, then here, forking the queen and the bishop. Maybe that's the reason why. Rook d8 is ridiculous move, but takes, but he didn't take. Why just ignored it? Bishop b3. Okay, since you ignore me, I take you. Quote, black has superior pieces, the superior pawn structure, and a safer king. Okay. Maybe a slight advantage for black. Alright, that's the our end for this Greenfield. There's a lot of variations. Don't forget that you can review these games if you're watching. You can rewind the YouTube or the Twitch, and hopefully it can help you start playing the Greenfield. One maybe the sharpest or one of the sharpest opening in against d4 opening. All right, guys, don't forget to subscribe and to share this to your friends. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.